Good afternoon, YouTube community. It's your buddy Chop It On coming at you with another episode of Chop Talk, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports, MMA to PGA, NBA to NFL. We've got you covered. 20 coaches, 40 staff, thousands of members constantly talking DFS 24/7 inside our community chat rooms, where you can become a part of it. You can get the coaching tools and content that are going to make you a better player. You head down into the comments section, find the link, DFSArmy.com, use code CHOP, CHOP, and trigger that 10% off discount that's going to basically save you a little bit of money for as long as you remain a member. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to run through several things, but first I want to congratulate our sweeps winners, our December sweeps. We're going to start all over. We're going to go through January. We're going to be working on January now. We're going to run through December, through the holidays. When you catch my tweets asking for a retweet, please retweet them and I will enter you into a list. 97 names last week, and we didn't even really try that hard. We'll try a little bit harder this month, see if we can't get that thing up over 200 retweets, because I'm trying to grow the army, of course, and I'm trying to leverage everybody else's help. But I'm going to incentivize you to help me by buying you VIP subscriptions. It's that simple. You retweet my tweet. I don't care if you have 5 followers, 5,000 followers. I don't care if you're a member. I don't care if you're not a member. I will buy you at the current level pricing you are at. I will buy your first month into, or reimburse you for the month of the DFS Army that you are currently paying for, because I want to make sure that we make people better, continue to grow, and will always make people better and continue to grow the community that, in my opinion, is the best community out there. So I'm just going to take it upon myself. Hopefully I give away more than 2. I've got a magic number in my head I want to see, and if I get there, I'll give away 2, then I'll give away 3, then I'll give away 4. We'll see how far we go. I'd love to give away 5, 10, 20 of these memberships, but of course it has to make sense for me to continue doing so. So help me help you, and we'll give these things away in January. So you're looking at the 2 guys here. Actually, Floyd here is already a member, so I recovered his fee for him for December. And Kale here is a new member, so congratulations. Hope to see you inside this afternoon. Didn't take but a day or 2 to get it set up. He's got his money. Hopefully he's signing up right now. He pops in, says hi, lets me know he's in there. And we get to digging in a little bit one-on-one, working on fundamentally fixing whatever he wants to work on inside his game, whether it be beginner or intermediate. If he blows me away with way too much information that I'm not ready to handle, I've got the experts I can pass him off to and make sure that he gets the expertise that he deserves to make him a better player. I focus more on getting your mind right, your bankroll right, your contest selection, things like that. I don't talk a lot of theory. I don't talk. You watch me break down the and one player pool here for NBA here in a second, and I really don't dive in too deep to these numbers. I assemble player pools, I run them through our Domination Station, I trust our projections, and I let it go. And some nights it does good, and some nights it doesn't do so great, but you know what? It's taken a ton of work off of me in the research area, and it makes me able, or gives me the ability to play NHL, which I love, NBA, which is more profitable, and NFL, which is also more profitable, and I can play the games I love and dive into the research that I want to, but I can also employ the leverage of the other experts and let them do the research for me in the sports that I don't excel in, that I don't care to become an expert in. And yeah, if I wanted to play NASCAR, I'd do the same thing. I'd figure out a way to cut my player pool down, then I'd rely on the coaches from there. PGA, same thing. It doesn't matter what sport it is that I play. So once again, thank you. The other thing that I want to do, I want to get into a little bit of concept for you while we're looking at the NBA Research Station. I took today, this morning, and I went and I played poker at a local casino because I love the game of poker. And poker parallels DFS so ridiculously well that it helps me keep my mind right. It helps me remember what I was learning back in 04, 05, 06 that I swear to you makes me a decent daily fantasy sports coach, because I understand things on a grand scale. I understand large sample sizes. I understand variance and volatility. I understand pushing small edges. I understand the frustration of long coolers. I understand a lot of this stuff on a level that I don't think a lot of today's fantasy sports players understand it. Whether it be they're prone to tilt, whether it be they're young and a little bit, I don't want to use immature in a negative way, but immature in terms of being able to accept the swings. Most of it's probably naivete in that they just don't understand how long the long run really is. Well, today I sat down, and let's say that I'm a relatively tight poker player. Those of you that play poker, you understand what I'm talking about. A loose player, 25, 35%. A crazy loose player is playing half of the hands he gets dealt. I'm on the tighter side. I play about 20%, maybe 25% when I play live of the hands that I play, just based on the starting ranges that I have in my head. I know what cards I play, and I know about where I run, about how often I raise pots, 3-bet pots, all that sort of stuff. And let's say I play about 20% of the hands, but we get dealt, I don't know, it's about 40 to 50 hands an hour in a live casino. Well, if we get dealt 40 hands an hour and I play 20% of my hands, on average, I'm playing 8 hands per hour. That's it, 8 hands. And of course, things go hot, they go cold, they go hot, they go cold. You can sit for an hour and play 2 hands. And you can sit for 6 hours and play 12 hands, 20 hands, all session long. That bores so many people that they loosen up their starting requirements, and then they start playing suboptimally, and they become fish because of it. A lot of people go on tilt in a different way in daily fantasy sports. They start playing too many games. Oh no, I lost on the afternoon slate. Instead of just book it and say today sucked, they pile on and say afternoon only, showdown, prime time, let's go. And then they dry up and they wonder why the hell they're redepositing. Well, because they were making bad decisions based on poor preparation and reacting to a poor day. If that's you, you need our help. You need the DFS Army's coaching and help to get your mind right. But I mean, today I must have sat there for 40 or 45 minutes and I might have played 4 hands during a very cold stretch of cards. And then all of a sudden I got 3 in a row, wham, wham, wham. And it all made up for it. Your winning and losing in daily fantasy sports is going to go the same way. Let's say you win 20% of your sessions. You win, quintuple ups, 20%. You're a pretty break-even player when it comes to that. Well, you're going to go on strings of losing streaks where you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions, with losing, and then maybe you win one, and then you go back and lose 4 more, and then maybe you win one, and then maybe you win another, but then maybe you lose 6 more, and then, dudes, it happens. Now, I've already blown through, just in that scenario right there, I've already blown through over a season and a half of NFL with about 3 wins to show for it. That doesn't mean you suck. That means you were getting screwed by the fantasy gods. That's what that means. If you're making the proper plays, if you played Kareem Hunt, or not Kareem Hunt, if you played Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, you did okay. If you played Spencer Ware and then bailed on that game and then went over and played maybe Cam Newton, I guess you did all right there. Maybe you played Jared Goff, took a little bit of flack. Jared Goff was a decent play. He was on a lot of people's list. He wasn't some off-the-wall crazy play. And you didn't play Todd Gurley, and you skipped out on Patrick Lindsey, and instead you played Christian McCaffrey and Aaron Jones. And you did fine on one end, but not so great on the other. And Spencer Ware didn't help you out. Now you got 2 holes in your lineup, and then you bombed on a receiver because instead of playing somebody, you played like a DJ Moore. Also a fine play, but it didn't work out for you. There's 3 holes in your lineup. Boom, unrecoverable. You lost. You didn't do anything wrong. That's like, today I got ace king and 2 queens and a 9 flopped with 2 spades on the board, and I had a diamond and a heart in that ace king. And some dude bet right into me. Thanks for the info. I'm out of here. I know what you got. You got the queen, you got the 9, you got a flush draw, whatever it is, I'm drawing to a second best hand. If I hit my hand, I'm fucked. And it's only going to cost me money. I'm going to run while it's cheap, live to fight another day, chalk up the loser, and move on. I'm not going to go play the 4 p.m. tournament and then the 7 p.m. tournament and then go sit there all night long eating French fries and drinking beer and gambling to the tune of losing $800, $1,000. I'm going to cut my $50 to my $100, lose, come back in a couple of weeks and play again. Why? That's going to stretch me out indefinitely. It's going to keep my head right, stretch me out long enough that I'm going to hit that heater. I won 3 big pots today with a full house, with a set and an overpair of kings. I hit 3 big pots today and still lost $70. It happens. It's called variance. I am a solid poker player. I'm a solid daily fantasy sports player. You probably are better than you think you are, but you don't understand the long run. You don't understand the long haul and getting yourself long enough term down the road that your winning streak can then hit you and repair the damage. You're not probably managing the short. You're too tied up on today. You're too results oriented. You're too worried about what happened to my aces this time. Oh, well, I need to play them differently next time. No, wrong. Keep playing the fundamentals. Keep playing fundamentally sound poker. Keep playing fundamentally sound daily fantasy sports. and let the wins come to you. Play within the means of your bankroll and let the wins come to you. That's the kind of coaching I tell people all the time inside Daily Fantasy, DFSArmy.com. So anyway, let's, excuse me. That's the freaking secondhand smoke in the casino right there. Let's jump into the NBA research station. Let's break up that player pool super, super fast, and I'll show you what I did on Friday because we got some good results out of it in showing people how to also search for floor and ceiling. We're going to want to find our floor, but we're also going to want to find our ceiling. And we want to roster players that can hit both today, not players that can only hit their floor or only hit their ceiling but have a very, very low floor. How do we find both? How do we find the guys that are going to go in our main lineup? Those guys, let's say it's 15 players that can make that main lineup. We'll put as many of them in there as we can, and salary may be prohibitive, but we'll put as many in there as we can. And then we'll come back and maybe make another lineup with, say, 5 or 6 of them, and then 2 or 3 guys that didn't make the list but kind of are in really, really good spots. Maybe those are your upside only guys. Maybe those are, a little bit of a point guard, power forward stack, or you're going to go down low and play the power forward and the center or something and try and gobble up the rebounds in a great matchup. Things like that. Those are those types of theories that you can go ahead and then pursue because your main lineup's going to suck up, say, 80% of your budget today, whether it be $5 or whether it be $500. Put about 80% of your money in cash heavy scenarios. You may build ladders, triple ups, quintuple ups, whatever, but if you've got that worked out right, about 80% of that money goes over there. And if you don't know what a ladder is, scroll down below this video in the DFS diary that you clicked on, and you'll find the links to the ladder system and the ladder 2.0 and all that good stuff. You can read up on it. But you may want to then take, say, 20% of your budget and create 4 or 5 GPP lineups. And from there, maybe you want to move on into some big GPPs, some small GPPs, whatever. And because if your cash lineup tanks, sometimes that contrarian maneuver that you pulled will save your night. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will. But generally speaking, 80% is in safe contests, 50-50s, triple ups, 3-mans, 10-mans, stuff like that, head-to-heads. And it's just grinding up a profit night in and night out. You put in 40, you take out 60. Good for you. It's not a great win, but you know what? A win's a win, so we move on. And you're waiting for those GPP lineups to do really, really well. And you go a month or a month and a half and nothing's happening, and 2 months and nothing's happening. Well, shit, man, that's DFS. That's part of the long run I'm talking about. But if you can keep the 80% side of your bankroll growing, or at the very least treading water to where you don't have to redeposit again, you can live indefinitely on those GPP entries and then finally wait. One day you'll get lucky and hit one. It's just, I got one in 180 million shot at winning the lottery or something like that. If I live long enough to play it 180 million times, I probably, theoretically I should hit one. But that doesn't mean that I won't go 300 million times and still not have hit one, right? I mean, that will happen to somebody, but if I lived a million years, I would eventually hit it. Maybe it would make me profitable long term, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know, but I would eventually hit the lottery. I'll eventually hit a big GPP if I keep playing them, but I would need to make sure that the major part of my budget is covered in the cash games. It's going to slowly grind my bankroll up before I go diving in to those high volatile GPPs. All right, we sort by and one. Sorry, that was a double tip for you. Mine's out of the gutter, double tip. Sort by descending order here. Once this thing kicks into gear, there we go. We've got a 30. Kevin Durant is a 30 tonight and one. I would just assume we're going to lock him in. 23, Anthony Davis. Maybe we're going to contemplate the 2. If you can find a way to get them both in there, great. James Harden. Oh, we got 3 big ones on the list. There's an 18.6 in Klay Thompson. Klay's funny because he's a little bit of a GPP type of guy, and if his shot is not falling, with Steph Curry on the court, it's a little bit different. I know it's because they're playing Atlanta because Curry's landing in there too. But these are your big matchup guys tonight, okay? So let's go point guards. We're going to pay attention to about the top 4 or 5 guys. Steph Curry, Russ Westbrook, John Wall, Chris Paul, maybe Moutier. Being cheap, I do like that play. Even though it's under a double-digit number, which I tend to stick to the double digits here. Moutier, I'm going to be looking into why I should play him, listening to my coaches. Why should I be playing him? I don't personally know the NBA well enough to just automatically know that, oh my God, going up against Washington, you got to play Moutier if he gets to start. I don't know. I don't care. I've got the player pool already set, and I'm waiting for my coaches to tell me who in there carries more weight than who. Who, whatever. Shooting guard, Courtney Lee at the top. Very, very interesting. NA. Not worried about him unless all of a sudden somebody says you got to play him to super punt. James Harden, Klay Thompson, Tim Hardaway, Drew Holiday, Bradley Beal. Those are your top 5. Look at shooting guard. Shooting guard's kind of deep tonight because the list goes below that in those double-digit numbers, all the way down to D'Angelo Russell and Avery Bradley. Dodson here at 4,200 might be worth a look as a cheap drop score format guy on Fanduel. These are names I'd be writing down. Kevin Durant, Gallinari, Mirotic, Leonard, Oubre, 4,300 Oubre, 10.5. He's up there. I'd be writing Oubre down, and I'd be looking at a lot. Scheduled to score 27 points, get 29 minutes, 6.3x. When we go through and sort for DS by the value rating, I expect him to jump right to the top if he's not there. I also expect, even though it's not a great matchup, Jeff Green down here at 5.5x to be up there too. Power forward. A.D. Harris, Harold, Jerebko, Griffin, Morris, somewhere down in this area. Oh, look how quickly that drops off. This is not a very deep position tonight. Tells me that these 3 guys are going to be big plays. Anthony Davis just gained some importance in my book based on positional scarcity alone. This position drops off, meaning a lot of these guys down here are going to be gambling for cheap. They're going to be, hey, maybe I get lucky. Nope, screw it. I'm taking the secure points. Moving on. You all can come chase my 65 points. I'm going to laugh and laugh and laugh. Anthony Davis right now, without further research, would probably be my most important of those big 3 priced guys on the slate right now. Maybe Draymond overtakes him, but it would maybe Durant overtakes him. Let's go back to small forward. He was ranked at a 30. So maybe. But due to positional scarcity, and there's more people here than there were at power forward. So due to positional scarcity, I'd be leaning on that power forward and Anthony Davis. Clint Capella, Enes Kanter, Karl Anthony Towns, Jokic, Randall. These are worth looking at, perhaps. Okay? So generally speaking, we've got our top 5 or so at every position. I can then turn this off. I can come down here on the FanDuel salary if I want to, and I can go picking on value guys. I can filter out. That's the beauty of the research station. It allows us to filter out whatever I want to see. If I only want to see guys 6,000 and below, there they are. Still sorted by and 1. Still showing me all the stats that I need to see. But there's my potential punts. Lou Williams makes the list now. Dotson, we all said was, he was on the list, at least down below the list in those shooting guards. Oubre, Jerebko, Bradley, Moutier. See these names we were already kind of talking about on the fringe are now in there. These are guys that we would be looking to maybe gain some, look at the projections, how the projections may change today. But these are guys that should be on our list. You could do it again for 4,000 if you want. I tend to kind of cut it off a little bit earlier than most because I've got the top 5 at every position, and then I've got some punts and stuff. I don't need punts everywhere. I just need a couple. I'm going to come down here by value. I'm going to sort by descending order. And there's Oubre right at the top of the list. Now, I don't know what to do about Satoransky, if that's somebody, or Jordan Bell, if those are things that your coaches are starting to recommend, then you're going to give them more weight, of course. But as of right now, our projections are projecting them very, very high. Would I put all 3 in my lineup? Probably not. But I might contemplate the center spot, or when there's a situation where people are going to be looking to pay up depending on where the ownership might be going later this afternoon, then I might look to, put a little Jordan Bell in there. At the worst, I drop him, and then I can run off and grab Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis and grab both those top guys. And I may end up using, an Oubre or somebody like that to help me reach that number as well. And the next thing you know, I've got 2 studs on there, 1 drop score, and the drop score is in a different spot than anybody else. So if my drop score does okay, but their drop score doesn't, I gain an advantage because their drop score might have been at power forward where I've got Anthony Davis, and they really fucked up. And that's how I'm going to gain leverage on you in 10-man leagues, 20-man leagues, 100-man leagues, things like that. And if I like it enough and it's secure enough, Anthony Davis has been okay. He, still showing his durability concerns a little bit, but he's been largely okay this year. He might be a guy that I'd go ahead and run in some 50-50s or some triple ups in my main lineup tonight. because he's that valuable. I always understand there's injury risk with him. I always understand that if I do that with the 80% of my lineup I was talking about, I might wind up taking it in the pooper. It just might happen. What are you going to do? That's why we got a bankroll. That's why we play within our means. I'm not going to go chase the express slate because of it. I'm going to say tonight sucked, and I'm going to look forward to Tuesday. Now, when we've got these guys all sorted out here by value and whatnot, I can then come over here even further and play around a little more. And this was the part that I was talking about Friday. We can take these cash game guys and we can see who consistently hits their cash game numbers. Sort by descending. Who is always hitting 5x? So we've got all our and one stuff. We've got our punt plays. We've got our whatever. We're already kind of got a sense that power forward's a scarce position tonight. We might want to focus on that. I'm going to take this cash target to hell with it. I don't want to look at Trey Lyles or maybe Taj Gibson or any of those guys. I want guys that are projected to score over 20 points. So I go greater than, and I go to like 19.8 or something. I can't put in just a 20 because it'll cut off all of the 20.0s, and that's the number I actually want to see. So when I cut these guys out, Taj will disappear. Well, the names go and then the stats go. So whoever's above Taj, I don't remember who it was. But anyway, so now these are only 20 point and above projected guys. These, if I wanted to, I could slide back over to the left and take only those guys that are projected to get X number of minutes. Only those guys projected at, an over under of 220 in Vegas or whatever. Whatever I want to do, I can cut down the filters and narrow my player pool down however I want. Only those guys that are paced up. I would make that number greater than 0. And then I can look at those particular guys and see who keeps checking the boxes and who I like to see. There's a million ways to play with the filters in here, but you just have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, what you're trying to get your player pool down to. And is it really something you're going to use for your entire player pool or just a portion of it? Like maybe I want to find that one guy who's really, really in a good spot, and then I'll narrow my player pool down to say even 8 guys or so just to see where that one guy is. Or maybe I stay fairly broad, like today, and just take it as my whole player pool. But since I've got my 5x guys, these guys are hitting 5x 60% of the time, 50% to 50 and above, percent of the time. You've got Anthony Davis hitting 5x 50% of the time. 63 points 50% of the time this year. That's pretty strong for such a high salaried dude. What I would do is look at these numbers, and now let's come over here and see who tests their ceiling. See, Anthony Davis doesn't test his ceiling very often. Why? His salary is already so high. To get to 6x, he's got to get 76 points. He'll fall. He's a decent cash game play, but his particular ceiling of 80 or above isn't going to get reached that often. Does it mean he's not a GPP play? No, he can win you a GPP tournament for sure. It just means that when you're lining up your main lineups and stuff, maybe this is something where you kind of go, ooh, I don't know. Because I want a guy that can test his floor and hit his floor consistently and test his ceiling frequently. So I'm looking at guys like Taj, of course, on top of the list there. 35% of the time, Dennis Schroeder is testing his ceiling. 30% of the time, Steven Adams. Maybe that's my pivot somewhere. 37% Bazemore. That's interesting. Is it Bazemore? No, it's Valanciunas. Bazemore's 31%. Jeff Green's 32%. 34% in Oubre. So Oubre hits his floor about 47% of the time. That's not really his floor. It's his 5x. It's bringing value. I'm going to mix my metaphors here and basically tell you I'm going to use 5x as his floor. It's really not. But so we're looking at Bazemore here or Oubre here at 47%, just at about 50%, hitting his 5x value number for his salary right now. And then we slide over here and see that a third of the time he's hitting his 6x ceiling and beyond. You can get all the way over here to 6x. I don't know how many times he's hit 7x, but I'm just looking for these guys. I'm looking for guys with big numbers over here that also have big numbers over here. And these are guys that I'm going to probably start favoring for my main lineup tonight. I'm going to put a little star next to them maybe on my list, and then I'm going to start watching for the coaches to start telling me more details, hopefully, about this matchup or that matchup or usage numbers or whatever, and start painting the picture for me. If you're newer to NBA and you want to learn, you want to really dive in deep and learn the game, this is where you would take these numbers and you would go ask these coaches questions and would say, hey, I'm noticing he's hitting 5x this often, he's hitting 6x this often. How come we're not recommending him over so-and-so who only hits 5x this often? Wouldn't this guy be the stronger play? Put them to the test. Make them go look at some numbers. Make them defend their moves. That's how you learn. You're not being a dick. You're not being argumentative. You're not overstepping some. And if anybody's ever being a dick to you when you ask the question the right way like that, you come talk to me. And I'll go tell that guy, yo, he's just asking a question. Sometimes we've got guys that feel threatened, that feel they're going to get their toes stepped on, when really you're just asking a question. In type and texting and stuff, it's pretty hard to gauge tonality sometimes. And so people will think they're being attacked when they're really not. So I don't know, maybe my tip to you is soften the edges around what you say so that you elicit a discussion and not some lash back from an asshole, an egomaniac or something like that, because that does exist. We try to keep it under wraps as best we can, but it's not completely foolproof. That's a two-way street. Sometimes it's on the guy asking the question, sometimes it's on the guy who's answering the question. But a lot of times, if you ask that question the right way, you can foster a discussion back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then what you're going to learn is that you are on the right track. And when you're on the right track, you can lose 3 nights out of 5. And while it's frustrating, you can understand that it's just luck screwing me over right now. It'll bounce back. All I need is the bankroll to weather the storm. Okay, so you've pretty much got your player pool. You've got some of the guys identified that can hit 5x and 6x. If we dive into the Domination Station, what I typically do from there is I call up the main slate. I call up the sport in this site that I want to play. I come down here and I uncheck that box right there. And now I go by point guards and I only check the guys that were already on my list, right? And I go to shooting guard and I only check the guys that were on my list, right? Clay was on my list, right? Small forward. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set, say, 5 lineups. Maybe I want to run 8 lineups tonight, whatever. If I want a really tight core and very little, I want to really, really do either really, really well or really, really poorly tonight because I'm playing smaller leagues and things. I really want to center around a tight core and just have a couple of iterations off of that. I would run like 2 unique players in there because I would have 6 or 7 of my players remain the same. Well, widen out a little bit more, I'd go 3. Widen out a lot more, I'd go 4. 4 is almost half my lineup's going to be different. So the guys that I want to see, if I ran it this way and just clicked optimize here, I got to go turn these guys back on just to show you what I'm talking about here. So I check all those boxes again. 8 lineups, 4 unique players. If I wanted to, let's say I just wanted guys that were scoring over 20. Let's back that down a little bit and go 19.9 because we want the 20s in there, right? Let's say I didn't want to spend 3,500. I could do that. There's just a ton of ways to do this. So I'm going on a really wide range here. I'm making 8 lineups, 4 unique players, and I'm going to see who the Domination Station really, really likes because I'm not even touching my exposures yet. They're all set at 100%. Somebody's going to be in all of my lineups. Anthony Davis. Did we call that already or what? You should probably prioritize Anthony Davis tonight. Other guys are going to be in a lot of your lineups. Tim Hardaway Jr., Emmanuel Mudiay, Jordan Bell, probably to afford Anthony Davis. Taurean Prince, Doxson. Those guys are. Taurean Prince was not on our list, so I might uncheck him later. Jordan Bell, Tim Hardaway Jr., they were on my list. Dotson, Mirotic, Frazier. Frazier was not on my list. I might uncheck him. Green, Sinarensky. Okay, so these guys are all pretty much on my list, but I might go through there and I might uncheck the players that I don't want. And I would actually not do it there. I would go back through up here and do it, do the all here and then uncheck everybody and then go position by position by position and check back the ones that I want in my lineup. And then I would run it again and I would compare my results. Am I getting a lineup that projects at 313? Is it higher? Is it lower? I mean, because you're taking people out that the Domination Station really, really likes, it's probably going to be lower, but how close is it? And from there, news is going to change today. Late breaking news is going to on a 7-game slate. Something's going to happen today that's going to maybe switch these numbers around. The projections are going to update again throughout the day. That's just going to happen. So that lineup's probably going to be wrecked in about 3 hours. Either way, it's been about 30 minutes. You've got a lot to chew on today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like, give me a subscribe down there at the bottom. Ring the little notification bell so that you don't need to ask me, hey, where's that video? Just scroll back through my channel when you subscribe to it and you'll find it. This has been Monday. I'm going to ask you to retweet this. I'm throwing this in the DFS diary. When I get that started, I'm going to roll it out, make it my pinned tweet this week. We're going to see how many retweets we get today and tomorrow and Wednesday. And we're going to see if we can't work towards buying our first January Sweeps VIP subscription for next month. We've got a couple of winners. Those guys themselves will absolutely tell you. I'm not that guy out on Twitter that says, hey, retweet me 25 times and I will randomly give somebody $500. My ass. That dude's never done that in his life. He's a lying sack of shit. Don't fall for that crap. That's like expecting the Nigerian prince to mail you money. It ain't going to happen. I have bought those 2 subscriptions, though, out of my own pocket this month, and I want to buy 3. I want to buy 4. I want to buy 5. If you don't believe me, tag those guys out on Twitter and ask them. They're in my winners section out there on Twitter. I'll show you again. Go tag them both, and ask them, did he really do that? And they will tell you, yes, he absolutely did. I'm going to do that again in January. I want to make it bigger. I want to make it better. And I want to do it again in February. And I want to do it again in March. And hopefully in 2019, we do it for all 12 months. And hopefully by the end of 2019, I'm buying 20 of these freaking things a month. I would love it. Because if that happens, man, we are growing as a unit. We are winning. We are doing great. And that's all I want. I want the Army to grow because I know what the Army does. The Army teaches. The Army makes you a better daily fantasy sports player. I know we have the content, tools, and coaching that make people better. Our testimonials are all over the place. Our Army hats right now are all over leaderboards. We win, and we can help you do the same. But you can't do it unless you're a VIP, so you got to come inside that bottom of that comment section. Click that link, dfsarmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get in here today. Maybe I buy your month next month. Don't wait. Don't sit and hope I do next month. Get in here today. Enter that contest 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. I'm going to be running these contests, these things a lot through the month. Follow my retweet requests and go pop them out there, and I will put your name on the list. I had guys that were on there 3, 4, 5, 6 times last month. I mean, I'm sorry they didn't win, but the more chances you take, the more shots you have to win. Somebody's going to win one. It might as well be you. It's been Monday, December 3rd, DFSArmy.com, Chop Talk NBA style with some other tips. Hopefully you loved it. Click that like and subscribe button. Hit me up in DFS Army, and let's talk a little bit more today as the day rolls on. This has been Chop Talk. I am out of here.